Welcome to the Arsenal Plymouth podcast. And today we are here with Jack and Keaton, and we're here to review the absolutely catastrophic Arsenal versus Manchester City yesterday at the Etihad. Just gonna start with asking you both how you are. How are you, Jack?
I'm not too bad, thank you.
What about yourself, Keaton?
I'm alright. I'm not as hungover as Jack is, so.
Oh no, I got ruthlessly drunk last night.
Don't blame me after that result.
Knocking out all the results.
So first of all, let's start off with what our take on the lineup was. I'm going to come to you first, Keaton. What did you make of this strange lineup that I guess nobody would have predicted before the game started?
No, not at all. Not at all. I do think that potentially he could have had the game against Brighton in mind. But at the same time, I'd put out a strong team against Man City because you want to get a good result against your former employers, against a team you know well. So I found it a bit strange, to be fair. Eddie Nketiah has scored a few goals in pre-season. He scored a hat-trick. But Lacazette's also scored every game in pre-season. So that decision is quite tough. Before the lockdown period, they were switching in and out. Pepe, obviously, on the bench didn't get on. And obviously, Mesut Ozil's, again, a big talking point, not getting even in the squad. But apart from that, it's a very young team. Like I said on one of our previous podcasts, he could generally just be using it as a pre-season and get all the youth out. David Luiz was on the bench. Obviously, we'll talk about him, unfortunately. Yeah, David Luiz was on the bench. Mesut Ozil not in the squad. So it looks like he's just preparing for the future because David Luiz might not be here come the end of the season or even 2 weeks, potentially. Mesut Ozil's not in his plans, clearly. So, yeah, I think it's pretty much a future lineup, potentially. Get some youngsters blooded out.
What did you make of that midfield, Jack, of Joe Willock, Matteo Guendouzi and Granit Xhaka? Were you quietly optimistic before the game started, or were you a bit terrified with the fact that that's what was going to happen?
No, the answer is no. I mean, I'm going to try and be a bit supportive of Mikel, because my answer, if you asked me first, would have been pretty much exactly what Keaton says. But I'll try and give a different view. I think the way he set up that team was it was very counter-attacking, and also it's a very high-energy team. Joe Willock and Matteo Guendouzi are they cover a lot of distance. They are high-energy midfielders. And so what I probably imagine is he thought where City are very good at just breaking play down and like picking passes, probably wanted people who were going to run around and just cause a bit of havoc. Obviously, that completely backfired. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, it's nice to see those players, but I think the balance was all wrong. You don't have anyone who's identifiably a defensive midfielder, and you also don't have, really, in that team, a link for the attack. I think it showed Eddie was on his own for quite a bit, and he got absolutely no service whatsoever. I think the only time he looked remotely close to making chances was actually when he was hounding down the City defence. So, I mean, like, I'm gonna try and be coy and say it was a tactical decision that didn't quite go to plan. But I mean, I don't know. No one knows what's happening at the moment. So,
did you think, Keaton, that front three of Aubameyang, Nketiah, and Saka was played the wrong way around, in the fact that maybe Alba should have probably played out wide on the right and Saka on the left?
I think you should have put Ober up top, personally. You're playing against Eric Garcia, who's a 19-year-old rookie in terms of the Premier League. Test him. Put Aubameyang up against him with the pace. If you're playing on the counter-attack, which was obviously the plan against a team like Man City, you'll put the pace. I'd have put the pace of Aubameyang, Pepe, and probably put Saka or Martinelli on the left. If you're going counter-attacking football, you've got to have that pace on the wings and up top. I said, against a relatively inexperienced Garcia, just let Aubameyang run at him and cause him some issues, isn't it? That's what I would say about the front three.
Did the result in any way did it surprise you that we lost 3-0 when in reality, I reckon it probably could have
Don't
been
just say no.
a lot more than 3.
I mean, well, I had a chat with Keaton on his show about this, and he said, "What do you reckon we're going to do?" And I said, "We're going to lose." I don't think the result itself didn't surprise me. If you look at our previous 6 games, we shipped 3 goals against City, at least in the last kind of 5-6 games we played against them. Personally, I was surprised that we didn't concede more. Obviously, Leno had an incredible game. I think Leno was a little bit unfortunate with that last goal. That he made a good save against Aguero, and unfortunately, Phil Foden was there just to pop it in. I mean, it's just one of those, like, City's one of those teams that realistically, you look at it away and you go, all right, we'll chalk it up as a loss, and then everything else, any other result is positive. But no, I'm not surprised by the amount of goals we shipped. I thought we would lose by 2 goals or more, especially when that team came out.
Keaton, before we come on to the injuries of like Xhaka and Pablo Mari, I thought the first 15 to 20 minutes were actually quite encouraging, like the way that he realised like what City are good at, where they press the ball very high up the pitch, and then we saw a lot of the time that Leno was playing this ball over the top, and there's a couple of moments where Keaton was offside on one of them, and I think there's another one that Xhaka was just offside as well. It looked like that was something like he deployed a flat 3 across the park. Do you think that's like some sort of like, okay, it was a bad result and it was 3-0 and like it probably could have been more, but obviously we'll get on to what happened later. But do you think there was like some sort of positive signs that at least Mikel in a way does know what he's doing? It's not like, I think I've seen a lot of overreaction on social media, people going, oh, look at him, look at this team that he played, how young the kids are. Well, in reality, he hasn't actually got the players to play the system he wants yet.
Yeah, I can get that point, but you've got plenty of other players on the bench. Like I said, we're going to bring Mesut Ozil up, obviously. Mesut Ozil was a player that he doesn't play away from home against big teams because he doesn't turn up. He's still a £42 million player and the highest paid player in the club. So against the big teams, why is he not playing? Why is he at the club if he's earning 350 grand a week and not playing the biggest games? Just ridiculous. But I'm sure, like I said, we'll get onto all that later. The midfield 3 for me, I thought it was more of a 4-2-3-1. I think he tried putting Willock as a 10. Xhaka's quite important to the way Arteta's been playing since he took over. So when he went off, I think that was a big loss because he had to drop Guendouzi back, and Guendouzi's not that person to hold. He hasn't got the positional discipline. He wants to roam around and run like a headless chicken, but he does a good job at running around like a headless chicken, but he doesn't do a good job as a CDM. So, like I said, the injuries did massively affect us, and you never know. If they had stayed on the pitch, it's football, isn't it? It's always if, buts, maybes. So it's a hard one to call. Like I said, if the whole game had gone on without injuries, he might have nicked a goal and won it. You never know, but that's football.
So, Jack, in one of the previous shows, we had talked about how in the Bundesliga there's like this 200% increase in the amount of injuries that we have that are like small tissue injuries. Did you think that the Xhaka one, from the sounds of it now, he'll probably be back just before the end of the season, and that it wasn't as bad as feared? But Pablo Mari was, you could say, a soft tissue injury in the fact that it was his Achilles tendon. Do you think that they were both unfortunate to happen? And what did you make of Pablo Mari for those 25 minutes? Because personally, I thought he was very slow, like even before he got injured.
I mean, the Pablo Mari injury was funny because originally I thought he was just trying to make up the fact that he could get absolutely nowhere near Kyle Walker. Mm-hmm. You watch Kyle Walker bomb past him, and all of a sudden he pulled up, and I was like, "You lazy." I mean, it's just classic Arsenal. Even if you have the long layoff, and obviously when you come off a long layoff, especially one like this, because there's not been a huge amount of active training. Obviously, everyone's had to social distance, so you're kind of relying on, your own team to kind of train themselves. And some clubs are very lucky. You've got Ben Foster screaming at players to do spin classes. But is there a thing that actually some of those players, when they should have been training, have maybe just seen it as a bit of a holiday and taken some time? And I think a lot of those players, you did see a lot of sluggishness. The Xhaka one's unfortunate. It's an impact injury. You can't really stop those kind of things. Sometimes it just happens, and him and Guendouzi collided, and he got injured, and that's that. But the Mari one, it's a little bit of a worry that conditioning, 20 minutes into a game and already someone's had an injury, which revolves around conditioning of players. Realistically, is someone pulling their calf 20 minutes into the first game? Is that an indicator of actually the squad itself is nowhere near as fit as what it should be? We'll talk about other players with fitness, because there were a few players that I looked at and you were like, you're not back to match fitness. And I think maybe that was a situation where he's played Mari and Mari just wasn't where he should be. But unfortunately, the club's kind of defensive, who they've got in centre-back, they didn't really have a choice. But I think, it's a little bit of a worry. The Xhaka one, it's just what it is. It's the same thing that.
Did you think at first that Matteo tripped him up and injured him from the scenes of it, but then after you see the reverse angle, you're like, oh, actually, it looked a bad one.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it's just Matteo just running around like a headless chicken, isn't it? Not really. And like, it is one of those things. It's the same thing with Edison and Garcia. It's they've both gone for a ball. They're both not looking, and those injuries happen. And I'm not going to be like, right, that's the club's fault because Xhaka's just taken a bit of a knock and he'll be back. But it is worrying with soft tissue injuries like that, because you then look at, is the quad actually conditioned? Are they ready? Or are Arsenal going to have a typical thing of players dropping like flies for the next 2 to 3 weeks?
Keaton, what did you make of the fact that Daniel Ceballos came on in place of Granit Xhaka? Did you think like he could have tried to do something else when Xhaka went off? Like someone who, well, it's not like we had much other option, but to try and control the ball in midfield, where if you look at the stats now, I think it's like Guendouzi made the most passes, and there's only like 25 passes, 26 passes, something like that, compared to like Laporte, who made like 100.
That's not a good sign, is it? Well, like you said, bench-wise, I don't think we had really any other centre midfielders. Torreira's injured. All he could do, like you said, Ceballos is a ball player. Maybe he tried bring him on and we'll keep the ball better, but obviously that didn't work out. And like I said, you had to drop Guendouzi back into the holding role, which is in his natural position. So you're playing him out of position, really. Ceballos isn't one to be positionally disciplined either. But they're all young players. Willock, Ceballos, Guendouzi, they haven't learned to be positionally disciplined that well yet. So it was literally just, guys, go out, try your best, Sunday league sort of stuff. Like, just run around, do your best, and we'll see how it goes. I thought it was quite bad positionally, but surely Arteta should have been working on that over the lockdown period. He said he's been having Zoom calls with the players. They've been doing tactical stuff. Like, surely that's the sort of stuff they've been working on. So if them players aren't doing it on the pitch, he needs to have a word with them.
So we're going to get on to the major culprit in all of this, David Luiz. So I'll come to you first, Keaton. That first incident, it was 46 minutes in. It's 0-0. We had played, maybe for the first 20, 25 minutes, I thought we did actually quite all right. And then all of a sudden, classic David Luiz moment happens. He just, I can't even explain it, to be honest. I'm
going to try.
What he was trying to think.
Well, you say classic David Luiz at the moment. I'd like to say classic Arsenal moment. Just hang on, just 30 seconds and get to half time. We can reevaluate. We can have a team talk. We can be like, right, guys, we're still in this. We've had shitty injuries, but, we've held on till half-time. We were not the better team, but it was 50-50 possession after 20 minutes. We'd made a few chances, no shots on target, but we were in the game. To concede that is just pointless, and it's just stupid. And it is a David Luiz thing. I was listening to something earlier, and I found that quite interesting, saying David Luiz might be a player to not thrive under the having no fans, because he loses focus a lot. The fans keep him focused, whereas without them fans, he's just like the pre-season friendly that he played against Brentford when he was just doing keep-ups in the middle of the pitch because there was no fans hounding him. Like, he's just an idiot. Just needs to go, doesn't he? It's time to go. Thanks for the memories. It's time to go.
What do you make of that incident, Jack, of the first goal? Like, the fact that, first of all, his body position was all wrong, but second of all, like, okay, if the ball's there, like, at least, like, look, I don't know if you've seen the reverse angle where when the ball goes past him and it comes off his thigh and he's looking at it and he's basically, like, laughing as the ball goes past him. What did you make of that?
I mean, can we just remind the viewers that 2 videos ago, Keaton said he would keep David Luiz next season. But
I still stick by that, by the way.
I mean, the problem with David Luiz is like David Luiz is just he's literally sideshow Bob, isn't he? He's just an absolute clown. And yeah, I mean, he sees the ball coming, and it's just I don't understand what he did, because he kind of half turned away and then just semi stuck out a leg, and it deflects us. And yes, you see him like laughing, and I don't know whether he's laughing at the simple fact of he just finds everything he does is just pure stupidity. It was like, for once, like, I agreed with Gary Neville, and this doesn't happen often, but like, okay, people make mistakes, I understand that, but he makes the exact same mistakes all the time, and it's his inability to judge balls is quite frankly ridiculous. Like, I don't understand the amount of times you see it, and he will just like, he sees the ball and then all of a sudden he's just like, I'm not in the right position. I'm not doing what I should be doing. I mean, he thinks everything's hilarious. I couldn't believe that he had a post-match interview. I couldn't believe that.
He's a 33-year-old international of loads of experience. He's won every club competition going, Champions League, Premier League, whatever. And he's still making mistakes like that at the age of 33. It's like, what can you do? You can't not. It's too late to teach him. It's
way too late to teach him. I mean, I feel like the more you watch him, the more you admire the defenders that played with him. Like Thiago Silva must be one hell of a centre back to make him look like another £40 million player when Chelsea rebought him.
The more you also appreciate his agent getting him fucking contracts non-stop.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, we will get to the interview, but yeah, like, you just saw it, and it's just like there's just an air of uncertainty with him, like uncomfortability. Like, I don't understand it. The second goal, well, the penalty, it's just like all of a sudden you think, okay, you're in a good position, and then he just completely switches off, and then Mahrez has gone round him and he's dragging people back. I mean, potentially it's a harsh red card, but no, I don't. It's something I don't understand what happens with the Arsenal players, because Socrates can be exactly the same. He just switches off. And I think, I don't envy Arteta at this moment with how he's going to sort out his defence.
So, what did you make of that, Keaton? The fact that, before we come on to that, like, that same thing that David Luiz did in that pullback motion, in the first half, Eddie Nketiah got basically, the exact same thing happened to him with Ryan Garcia, where Ryan Garcia literally just had his hands all over him, pulled him down, Richard just outside the area, and it would have been a free kick in a decent position for us. And the referee waves play on. But yeah, okay, like, I'm not condoning what David Luiz did, and he was stupid. And if you see that, I personally believe that if you see the first contact was up where he first laid hands on him was outside the box, and if you go by the rules, that's where if you first lay hands on him outside the box, and the foul's outside the box. But besides that, do you think? I think it comes down to a lot of referee inconsistency and the fact that also, I think he just looked so off the pace. What do you make of the incident?
No, forget refereeing, forget that. Garcia is 19 years old and a rookie centre back. He can make mistakes like that. David Luiz is a 33-year-old proven defender who's on 200 grand a week. There's no need to put yourself in that position. You shouldn't be in that position to have to make that challenge in the first place. Garcia, you can accept it. He's 19 years old. David Luiz, there's no way as a professional at that age you should be making amateur mistakes like that. That's just you can't teach that out of him, and it's always going to happen. And Arsenal knew that when they bought him, so it's Arsenal's fault. Sorry.
It's fine.
I think the problem is like David Luiz got sent off for doing that against Chelsea.
Exactly.
Like David Luiz loves to do that, and it's just like okay.
The exact same thing against Liverpool as well, if you remember.
Yeah,
clearly.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not even like, okay, yeah, I saw the Garcia one and I was like, where's my free kick at? And it should have been a free kick, but it's just it's just like you look at it and you saw, and it was almost like slow motion. Just you saw Mara skip past and you're like, I know exactly what you're going to do. And he always does it. He always puts arm on the shoulder and then throws his arm up in the air as if he hasn't touched him. I'm just like, you're an idiot. And the problem is, it's like refs know what players are like. And it was always a thing of like, they knew as soon as he touched someone, someone's going to go down. A ref's going to be like, well, he's known for that. So boom, you're off.
Do you want to hear a good stat?
Yeah.
During his time at Chelsea, David Luiz gave a penalty away once every 54 games. During his Arsenal career, he's given one away once every 6.5 games. He's had a red card once every 13 games for Arsenal, and it was once every 154 games for Chelsea. So that's how bad he's gone down.
His one and only red card before he joined Arsenal was against Arsenal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He two-footed whoever it was, Kolasinac potentially, I think he was.
How bad has he got in the last year, or is it just Arsenal? Or how can a player go from being not that good, but just decline so badly? I know he's aging, but like, there's no way in a year you go that bad.
I think that. Oh, sorry.
Do you think like the fact that it looked like somehow he had turned the corner, like when Arteta came in, like those 10 games before, he played so well, and then isn't that just classic David Luiz, the fact that he'll have 8, 7, 8, 9, 10 good games, and then he'll have one absolute calamitous game. Jack.
I mean, I don't know. It's a difficult one with the whole. I mean, with his calamitous games, like I do agree he did look pretty decent when Arteta first came in, but then a lot of players suddenly turn a corner when when a new manager comes in, and all of a sudden there's that kind of a degree to fight for your place and all of that. I think it's something about Arsenal. I don't know what it is. Like, I hate it when Arsenal send up new alerts on new uploads on Facebook, because you see these videos, and like I saw one the other day, and it was people taking free kick training. And like Socrates is like, I'll bang in a free kick. And I'm like, have you not got something better to do than
learn how to defend?
Yeah, and you always see it. You always like see these, and someone's going to be like, oh, it's just an innocent clip of Socrates just banging a free kick. I'm just like, it's the principle. Like whenever I used to do training, I played rugby, and you didn't go and start hoofing kicks off the tee because absolutely nothing to do with what your job is, and I think it is a bit of a worry in that sense, where you see players and they are doing well, but then you kind of see snippets of them behind the scenes, and they're not doing what they should be, or they're dicking around, or it's all smiles and kick ups and things like that. And I think originally when I looked at him, thought, okay, maybe this will be a good point. This lockdown for players like Kieran Tierney to get back to fitness and all of this, where certainly it has worked for him, but for other players, it's kind of been a little bit of a holiday. And, a lot of players have lost their edge. And I think, unfortunately for David, that just seems to happen to him. He was out breaking lockdown. He broke it like twice, I think. He got reported that he was out and about with his mates. And so, maybe, giving that man a bit too long, he's just kind of gone, coming to the end of my contract. Let's just earn money and have a bit of fun.
But Man City's team have been through the exact same. They've had lockdown to deal with, and they seemed not all 100%, but a lot better than us.
I think, that shows you the mentality of a team. Man City are probably being hounded by Pep to do everything, and and it is just there's a different quality. You looked at that City team, and Mendy, who's barely played, he looked sharp, he looked good. And it also shows like the depth. City's midfield probably, they didn't start Rodri, they didn't start all these players.
Fernandinho.
I mean, Fernandinho's a little bit past it, but it's allowed, it just shows the mentality of a team, and it'd be interesting to see what Liverpool are like when they come back. I expect Liverpool to be full of focus, and it is a bit worrying if you see all these teams come back and it's not the same across the board. I watched the Dortmund game yesterday, and Dortmund was shocking. They lost 2-0 at home to Mainz, but you could tell that they knew they couldn't win the league. They didn't care, and it's a worry that potentially that kind of similar mentality has kind of gone into certain other clubs like Arsenal, where they've just gone, right, let's just get it over and done with. Let's get the season done, and not taking it as seriously as what maybe they should do.
Before we move on to Dan Lee's contract, do you just touching on what you've been saying, Keaton, do you think that Mikel Arteta will allow that to happen? Do you not think that he'll demand from his players to see something from his players saying? I personally feel that Arteta will tell his players, look, you have how many games it is left now, 9 games to save, basically just to save your Arsenal career. Because let's be real, I don't see how many of these players will be being paid that same money that Arsenal pay. Arsenal, notoriously, we weren't ever spending this money, and all of a sudden, in the last 3, 4, 5 years, big wages to not very good players. What do you make of this? Do you think that he'll be telling them, this is your Arsenal career, you've got to save your Arsenal career now?
Well, that's what you'd hope he'd be saying, and from all the things we hear, we see, it does sound like that's what he's doing. But like we touched on, he's got to be ruthless, and it's harsh. But the Mesut Ozil thing might actually be a good measuring stick, because he were teammates with Mesut Ozil, they're friends, and if he's potentially gone around and said, "You're not part of my plans," to a friend of his, an ex-teammate, that shows how ruthless he's going to be. So that could put a rocket up people's asses and be like, "Oh shit! If he can do that to Mesut Ozil, he can do that to me." So you'd hope that's what's happening. People like Aubameyang, obviously, you've got loads of contracts. Obviously, I'm sure we're probably touching on that next. But then people who have a couple of weeks or maybe a year left on their contract, if you're not going to play good for me, don't be here. That's what you hope he instills.
So when we talk about David Luiz's contract, I'll just read out exactly what he said yesterday. He said, it's not the team's fault, it was my fault, he told Sky Sports. Today, I think the team did well, especially with 10 men. The coach is amazing, the players did amazing. It's just my fault. I took the decision to play. I should have taken another decision in the last 2 months, but I didn't. It was all about my contract, whether I stay or not. I have 14 days to be here, and that's it. Today was my fault. I don't want to use it as an alibi or an excuse, but it was my fault, and that's it. I love to be here. That's why I continue to train hard. That's why I came here today. That's why I tried to do everything. That's why I'm here putting my face up. That's why I said to the other players, no one had to speak. I'm happy to show my face and be here. I want to stay, and the coach knows he wants me to stay, and we are just awaiting for the decisions. So, from my point of view, I think it sounds like David, either he's only been offered a short-term contract till the end of the season, and I don't think they're going to take up the option from the sounds of it. How do you think, Keaton, that this will affect the dressing room in the long term? Do you think, especially after Arteta came out basically and supported David and said how much of a fan he is of him as a person and stuff, do you think that's what's happened, that the club have basically said to him, look, we'll keep you to the end of the season, but not take up the option of the extra year?
Yeah, at the end of the day, they know more than us, the executives. They've got to do the financial bits and bobs. So if we get rid of David Luiz and his 200 grand a week wages off the bill, and you take 50 grand of that and put that onto Ober's contract, people will be like, brilliant, do it. So it all depends what happens in the summer, doesn't it? If they do offload, well, not offload because he goes on a free, but don't renew David Luiz's contract, and they get Ober to sign a new contract, and they get I don't know, say a Partey or a Upamecano, and get them because they paid the extra 20 or 30 grand wages that they want, everyone would be like, brilliant decision, like no brainer. But then if you get rid of David Luiz in the summer and then you go out and buy absolutely nobody or get a loan signing from Real Madrid, some youngster or something, like what's the point? You may as well have kept David Luiz. So it all depends what happens in the summer. And the David Luiz, like I said, I would still keep him. I know his performance the other day was shocking, but it's a lot of experience, even if it's bad experience, to have in the changing room.
What about you, Jack? Do you think that, would you keep him till the end of the season, or would you take up that option of the extra year?
I'd never take up the option of the extra year. I mean, you've got to be sensible with your squad. You know, if you've only got two centre backs, you can't not have. You can't be like, nah, on your bike, off you go. So in that sense, yeah, they do need to be sensible and actually look at what they've got. Even if you just resign to the fact that, right, we're just going to literally sit David Luiz on a bench for 2 weeks or however long it is to the end of the season, and hope that no one gets injured again. But yeah, I think you do, in that sense, you need to be sensible. What Keaton said is right. At the same time, you also can't just bin off David Luiz and then not replace him. I know we talked before about the fact that Arsenal have about 8 centre-backs in the squad, but at the same time, you need to replace players. And so, it's a lot of wages for someone to have, and, theoretically, could you take his wages and go to someone like Thiago Silva, who's just finished his contract, and go, right, for a year? I don't particularly like the idea of carrying on getting older players who are only going to be there for a year. I'd rather they spent the money on a young centre-back or a younger centre-back.
Like, especially the fact that, well, Kia Joorabchian, obviously, he said, like, it's not true that David's whole deal and contract and so on was worth about £24 million. But if he's on 200 grand a week plus £8 million on signing fee plus however much you paid to him to bring him to Arsenal, I'm pretty sure it must have been a hell of a lot more than just £24 million. Keaton, do you, in terms of what Jack was just touching on, do you think we should categorically say no and not do the same and not go and bring in, for example, Thiago Silva for a year? Like, it would just be another waste of money for a year.
That's a tough one. If we're talking specifically about Thiago Silva, he's a much better defender than David Luiz. I know he's older. I think he's 36. So if you got him, like we got, 36, I think. So if you got him on a 2-year contract and paid him the wages, I'd rather have him on a 2-year contract than David Luiz for an extra year. If you had to give the wages to someone, I'd rather have Thiago Silva.
Yeah.
Would you both look into, or would you both say, okay, let's not even give David Luiz that extra month, however much it is worth of his wages, and we just look to the future and go, okay, we've got Zach Medley, who's from the academy. We've got Daniel Ballard, who supposedly for Swindon this year has played really, really well. From what I know, from what people have been talking, do you think, Jack, that you'd rather see these two kids come in and play potentially?
I think you've also got Dino, who's out on loan. I mean, okay, he's only been playing in Bundesliga 2. I think I would probably prefer to see a youngster come in. I think it's one of those ones where if you were going to go for Thiago Silva, I think you need to, these signings now, if you're going to go for older, experienced players, you need to almost make a double sign-in. So you need to go like, I'm going to bring in Thiago Silva, but at the same time, I'm going to bring in someone who is also very young.
A Saliba.
I mean, Saliba, unfortunately for him, he's probably literally going to be, you are now the rock in the defence and we'll build the centre-backs around you. Mm-hmm. But it's, as you were saying, like, for example, Ballard, if you were to bring in someone who's a little bit older, say, chucking a name out like Gary Cahill, for example, if you were to bring him in and then you pair him with Ballard and you'd be like, right, what I want you to do is not focus so much on, finishing off your career, but more focus on starting up someone's career and kind of work almost in a, can't think of the word now, but
an education.
Yeah. So, kind of an advising kind of role where, okay, if you need him for the cup games, you've got someone with experience, who you can bring in, but it's more kind of helping with development, kind of like a player coach almost. And I think then that is something definitely you could look into with someone like Thiago Silva. If you've got like, if you were to bring in a young French defender, for example, or a young Brazilian defender where Thiago Silva can just sit with him and be like, right, this is how I do my thing. And then the players can learn off them. Because unfortunately, if you bring it, like, if you keep David Luiz or Socrates in that same role, they're not the same ilk. And you kind of want to move away from that and bring in a wealth of educational quality, maybe as opposed to trying to flat out buy someone who's an experienced defender, because they're going to be bloody expensive.
Keaton, do you think, like, just finally touching on that bit of the centre back, do you think it's a very big thing to just rely solely and put all your pins and hopes on a 19-year-old kid who is a kid really in William Saliba? Okay, there's huge hopes for him, and he has played, from what I hear, and I don't really watch the French league, but apparently he's been fantastic. But the Premier League is a very, very different level to what Ligue 1 is. Do you think we should be, you can't just pin all your hopes on this 19-year-old kid and basically be like, you are literally the hope that we all have, that all our fortunes will turn around? Do you think that we need to go and find another top centre-half to go alongside him?
Yes, we do, but will we? Probably not. So it can be, what do we need to do? But we've needed to do a lot of things for a lot of years, and we haven't done them. We touched on it a while ago. We needed to replace Patrick Vieira. We needed to replace, how many players have we needed to replace? Probably the whole starting 11, to be honest. And we haven't. So, like, for Saint Etienne, for instance, Saliba, he's been playing well out there, but everyone gets names chucked out. You've got like Axel Disasi, who plays out in France. He's a 19-year-old centre-back. Saint Etienne themselves have got another 18-year-old, 19-year-old centre-back. Can't remember his name. He's been getting rave reviews.
Wesley Fofana now, yeah.
That's it. So, as soon as you pick up Saliba, they're on about the Wesley guy. He's now £27 million. So until they play in the Premier League and they prove themselves, he could be a massive flop. You don't know. And it is really horrible to pin all our hopes on a 19-year-old. And especially, you could, if you were picking up a 19-year-old, say, I know Sancho's 20 now, but Sancho, who's proven himself in a different league and is world-class, and you're spending big money on him, you kind of know you're going to be all right. But Saliba is a 19-year-old centre-back. Centre-backs normally don't hit their peak till they're 24, 25, maybe even later. So a 19-year-old centre-back, very inexperienced in big games. It's going to be hard to pin your hopes on him, but at this stage, this is what Arsenal have got to do.
So, Jack, let's talk about the second big talking point of the night. So, I saw a very interesting tweet from someone, not going to mention who, but they tweeted after days and days of no football and months on end of no football, and after everything that's happened in the world in these last 3 months, the whole world goes back to talking about Mesut Ozil. Became the number one trending topic on Twitter literally the minute we found out he wasn't in the squad. What do you think we do with Mesut Ozil? Like, do you think this is actually the final nail in Mesut Ozil's Arsenal coffin?
I mean,
it's a lot of bloody nails.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken about Mesut Ozil quite a lot previously. I mean, I've got nothing against Mesut Ozil as a person. Mesut Ozil is, by all accounts, a very nice guy, and he is a very talented footballer. But the problem is a team needs to be built around Mesut Ozil as opposed to Mesut Ozil being placed in a team. You know, you look at some of the other squads he's played for. Everyone raves about his Real Madrid career, and in all fairness, it would be really hard not to look good in that Real Madrid squad. You know, he got loads of assists, but then at the same time, he was assisting like Cristiano Ronaldo, like peak Ronaldo. You're gonna get a lot of assists if you just pass the ball to Ronaldo. I mean, the problem is, I think, it is that kind of, it's just classic thing of what Mesut Ozil's going to turn up. You know, it's like the whole thing they used to say about like what French team's going to turn up. You know, it's either going to be class or it's going to be useless. And somehow Mesut Ozil has that exact same trait where theoretically you could play a big game and he's just not going to do anything. He's going to be shut out. He's not going to track back. And then all of a sudden you're playing 10 men versus 11. Personally, do I think he should stay? No, because he's on so much money that realistically could go to other people. You know, it's this whole thing of, you know, you had the choice between Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil. You chose to pay Mesut Ozil more money. And then a season later, can you pay Aaron Ramsey more money? No, because unfortunately you've got Mesut Ozil 350k.
Can I just play devil's advocate for a minute? Do you think that at that time when Ozil was given that new contract, I think that was the best Mesut Ozil I think I've ever seen play for Arsenal. He was, for someone who goes home and away, and you see it all like in a much clearer view than you see it on the TV.
I think
he was unbelievable. He was arguably one of the best players. I think if I talk about my time of like supporting Arsenal, he is up in my top 5 Arsenal players I've ever seen play for Arsenal.
Yeah, I think like when you look at that season, but then I think the squad itself worked very well for Mesut. It was a very fluid very fluid strike force that we had. You know, Alexis was happy to move from left to right to in the centre, and Mesut could do the same. And then obviously you had players like Theo Walcott, who was obviously a great player for creating runs, and Olivier Giroud was also a very good player for feeding off attacks with. So I think it suited him. But now you bring into the team that we have now, where there's more of an onus on Mesut Ozil to be an actual midfielder as opposed to this number 10. You know, Mesut Ozil's dream position is very, very slowly dying. You don't really see that number 10 who will literally just create attack, because the game is now so fast, so quick pace. And you look at how Arsenal's midfield is set up. We don't have the strongest centre mids on the planet. So you can't afford to look at Torreira and Xhaka and be like, right, we need you to do the work of 3 men, whilst Mesut Ozil quietly waits for the perfect counter-attacking move. You need it in a sense where everyone works hard for each other. And I think a good midfield for that is if you look at the City midfield, and you look at arguably two players who are traditionally centre attacking mids in David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, all of a sudden now have become more traditional centre mids where they're happy to get out and defend. And then, yes, when you attack, you suddenly got these players that can spring into action. And that's why I think City's midfield is as strong as it is. Whilst with Mesut, there is always that chance that you're going to sit back and defend one man less than what you should, as Mesut just pots around on the halfway line waiting for the ball to come to him.
So, Keaton, I'm just want to touch on something that they talked about this morning on the Arscast, where I think it might have been James said about, do you think Ozil has lost his motivation of just playing football? I mean, altogether, he was playing in arguably he was playing arguably with Prime Ronaldo in the Real Madrid squad. He won the World Cup at such a young age, really. It was about 27, 28. He also has won La Liga. He's won 3 FA Cups with Arsenal. He played with arguably the best Alexis Sanchez at the Premier League scene. He created 19 assists in the space of I don't know how many, literally half a season. Do you think that for now, and he had that 1.5 good seasons before that big new contract, do you think that just for him basically now it's all about just taking the money now and being like, oh, I've worked hard for this, I'm a World Cup winner?
Yeah, potentially. I think it has changed. Obviously, as soon as he got that contract, it went downhill. He's also had the issues with the German national team. You never know if the whole racism thing with the Turkish president, that could have affected him mentally. We got a lot of abuse for that. Obviously, Germany, a country he's represented over 100 times, won the World Cup for, kind of not disowned him, but kind of threw him under the bus. So that must affect you mentally. But being a professional footballer, I would expect maybe to be able to handle that. I know it's probably not, he's a human at the end of the day, but you're paid millions of pounds a year to perform on a pitch. Like if somebody said to me, do this for 350 grand a week, I want you to run, I want you to do the job I asked you to do, and I'll pay you 350 grand a week, I'll do that. Just because it doesn't suit what you want to do, it's a job. It is a job at the end of the day. But yeah, he's had a few issues. Obviously, like I said, the German national team, new contract. Adidas had just dropped him. So that also is another thing that maybe weighing on his mind. So maybe he's thinking, get the last year of my paycheck at Arsenal, go on a free, get another big paycheck in China or the MLS, and just kind of just take the easy road from now on. He's done it. He's achieved everything. What more is there he can do? If he can't really achieve anything more in football.
Just quickly finish on this Ozil topic. Do you, quickly from both of you, do you think that we've heard it so much now, not only from now it's been Arteta, tactical reasons, Unai Emery, tactical reasons, Freddie Ljungberg, didn't say tactical reasons really, but it was a lot to do with that attitude and when he came off the pitch and he kicked his gloves off the pitch for being unhappy. And again, Arsene Wenger, tactical reasons. Both of you, do you think that that we'll still see Mesut? I think in my head, I had an opinion that I thought Mesut would stay for another year. I think that this probably is the end of the Mesut Ozil story. I'll come to you first, Jack.
I think it's ridiculous that it's gone on this long, where people have gone tactical reasons, and it's like, I mean, I think in a sense there has to be some sort of not blame, but questioning to the coaches of, you've seen the manager before you said tactical reasons is why I'm going to drop Mesut Ozil. So what have you done to change it up? I think, it is just one of those things that I think as we progress as a club, unfortunately, the need for Mesut Ozil has gone. I personally, I don't know. It's difficult because Mesut actually, he seems pretty happy just to sit on the sideline and collect his wage. He seems like, if I play, I'll play. If I don't, great, 350k a week. And it baffles me that it's got on this long that no manager has gone, right, what do I do to improve the Mesut Ozil state? Or even just be like, right, because you could have sold him 2 seasons ago and you would have made quite a bit of money for him. Whilst now, I think you're going to struggle to sell him with very few teams being able to match the wage demands that he's arguably going to have, because at the end of the day, he can literally ask for whatever he wants. He's on 350k. Why would he leave and take a 150k wage deduction or 200k wage deduction? I mean, he argued about taking the 12.5% cut. He was like, "This is my money." So I mean, I find it strange. It's a bit of a circus, to be fair to Mesut Ozil situation. Always has been, and I think it is both managerial and player fault for that. But yeah, I can't see him being sold. Unfortunately, I reckon he will be there for another year.
Keaton, do you think that this is the end, or do you agree with Jack that you think he'll sit out? You look at me sitting around not doing anything.
No, 100% agree with Jack. I said it on one of our previous podcasts that he ain't going to go anywhere, is he? Even if we let him go on a free transfer, like I said, the only place potentially he'll get more money is China, and he seems quite happy with life in London. Is he going to want to relocate to China for an extra 50 grand a week or whatever they'll offer him? No. MLS, potentially. It's a good lifestyle out in America compared to China, I would imagine. But once again, he seems quite settled in London and quite happy. So I can't see him leaving. I can't see any club wanting to buy it. Well, even get him on a free because of his wages. I don't see him leaving. I see him just sitting on the bench.
I see the only place of him going, personally, I think he'll end up going to Turkey. I just feel like that.
Fenerbahce.
Yeah, something like that. Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, who knows? One of those big teams there. So let's just quickly get out the negativity of. Let's just quickly look ahead to the next game against Brighton. Come to you first, Keaton, on this one. Do you think that because we've already played a game and we've already had the experience playing behind closed doors and some of the players got minutes in their legs again, even more minutes in their legs, do you think we stand a better chance of getting a good result against Brighton?
We stand a better chance of getting a result because Brighton aren't Man City, basically. All teams are going to react to the lockdown differently. So you like Arsenal and Man City, for instance, we've clearly not got fitter. We've clearly lost a lot of fitness where they seem quite sharp. So if Brighton turn up sharper than us on the day, they'll beat us. But obviously, I do think we'll win. We did lose to Brighton at home, didn't we, earlier in the season?
We did indeed. That's 2-1.
So it's not like it hasn't happened before. Brighton are a good team when they want to turn up. So I could see us winning, and I hope we're winning. And I'm going for a 3-1 Arsenal win. But at the same time, depends on the lineup, which I'm assuming you'll probably want us to give you in a minute.
Just give me what you think. What would you go for?
Leno straight away, obviously. If Tierney's can manage 90 minutes again, Tierney. Centre backs you can only go for Holding and Mustafi. Right back Bellerin. Can Bellerin do another 90 minutes? Once again, so you don't know that. If not, will Cedric finally get a minute for Arsenal potentially? Maitland-Niles at right back, but I'd like to see Bellerin again if he's able to. Midfield 3, no Xhaka, no Torreira. We're pretty screwed. Guendouzi, it looked like a big Guendouzi, Ceballos. Probably will. It'd probably be a very similar midfield 3. But I've seen he's playing Saka at centre mid sometimes in the friendly, so you never know. You might see him push into a midfield for some bizarre reason. And wings, you'd hope it maybe rotate and put Martinelli on the left, Pepe on the right, and then you've got to play Aubameyang, which means you leave out Lacazette again.
What about you, Jack? What do you think? Especially we've got the minutes in, we've had a game behind closed doors. Potentially as well for Brighton now, they're one of the against on the relegation battle, do you think that not them not having their fans will affect them? And that normal noise that you get when you go into Brighton, where was at Brighton last year, and especially when they're in a relegation battle, they're right up for it, like as you would be.
I think, like Keaton said, I think we'll be. I think. I don't know if the minutes side of it really will come into it, because I think there will be a very different squad that will go out. I think we'll probably win 2-1. I can't see us not conceding, which is horrendous, but that's just what it is. But yeah, I think there might be a different mentality going into this game, because now all of a sudden, you've lost your game in hand. Like, you are rocked in ninth, and you really need to start winning games. So I'm hoping that there might be a boot up the arse a little bit to some of the players. I mean, as far as the starting lineup goes, obviously Leno will start. Bellerin, I hope, plays a right back again, just because, without offending Cedric, but he's not as good as Bellerin. Plus, also Bellerin has played and Cedric hasn't. So you want players who have match fitness and minutes. The only thing I'd slightly change is I reckon he might play Tierney at centre back. Tierney didn't look awful at centre back, to be fair. There were a few times where, like, Aguero was running around him, but then it's Aguero. Like, you can kind of give him a little bit of slack on that one. He's not the easiest person to defend against. I think he'll play Kolasinac at left back, and then you'll have Mustafi in centre back. I think the midfield, he might play Maitland-Niles at centre mid. He brought Maitland-Niles on to play centre mid. And I think of those players who can play centre mid, Ainsley is the only player who actually has any defensive attributes. He played right back, so you'd hope he should be able to tackle. And I think he'll probably play Guendouzi and Ainsley slightly further back, and then play Ceballos slightly further up the pitch in more centre attacking mid position. And then, pretty much as Keaton says, same front three. And I think that's going to be the bigger issue, is how do they attack? Because unfortunately for the guys yesterday, they all just got swamped out. You didn't see any form of attacking. I personally wouldn't play Lacazette at all. I said this to Keaton earlier, I thought behind David Luiz, I thought he was our worst player and he only played 10 minutes. It's just, there's something about him. He just does not seem like he can be bothered to play football anymore. He walks around the pitch, he gets the ball and he's just so slow, and he tries all these fancy flicks and they just don't work. And then he was getting into positions and where he used to get in those positions and zip the ball across the face of the goal, looking for a deflection or a touch or anything. He was just putting half-assed kind of cutbacks in that were really going to no one. And I personally think, like David Luiz, I think his time at the club is probably all but up. From what's been said about, using him as make weight for transfers, I think he's gone, unfortunately. He just hasn't been that good a player this season. And so, I think he'll probably just play Aubameyang up top now and have Eddie Nketiah as a backup.
So, just to wrap up, I think we'll win 2-1 as well. I think we'll play Leno in goal, Bellerin, Mustafi holding Tierney. That's my hope. I hope he goes with Guendouzi in midfield with Dani Ceballos. And I have a really strange feeling that Mesut Ozil will play. And I hope that he goes with Saka, Aubameyang, and Reece Nelson up front. I don't know what it is on the next podcast, we'll touch on Pepe. I don't know what it is that it has happened to Pepe with them. Well, not just with him, with Unai Emery and Arsene Wenger, not Arsene Wenger, with Unai Emery and Freddie, where they all drop in. But yeah. Anyway, lads, we'll see you guys after Brighton, and we'll hope we are a little bit more positive after it.
Fingers
Yes.
crossed, though.
My thanks to Jack and my thanks to Keaton.
Cheers.